Hello, everybody. Happy Easter. Today is Easter Sunday, and I thought I would do a video. I'm going to talk about uh, a complaint that I get. Some people complain that my aquariums have too many fish, and then other people complain or insinuate that they've only known tanks that use the inoxy filter to barely have any fish. So I was going to address that. Plus, I'm going to address you with some letters and that I received, and I thought you'd be interested in that. Well, what we're looking at here, I'm going to use this 20-gallon aquarium here as a prime example. Now, there's all kinds of rules of thumb out there, and I have some videos on my 60-gallon aquarium. One of the biggest complaints I get is constantly is you have too many fish. You have too many fish. You have too many fish. That's the biggest complaint I think I get on that video. Too many fish. There's nothing going wrong with the aquarium, mind you. The fish are doing just fine, but everyone makes a comment, you have too many fish. So if you look at this tank here, it's a 20-gallon tank, and in all honesty, it has too many fish, because the rule of thumb is you should have 25 gallons per goldfish. That is the rule of thumb. So this is a 20-gallon aquarium. It's already 100% overstocked. I have 2 goldfish in it. That's actually, according to the rule of thumb, it's overcrowded. Even though a lot of people would look at this tank and say, it's not overcrowded. It's a 20-gallon tank. You have 2 smaller goldfish in there. They have grown since you've gotten them, but it doesn't look overcrowded. Doesn't seem to be overcrowded. This particular tank runs 100% off of a BCB basket, and it has a Eheim skimmer on it, and I use that skimmer to help circulate the water. And as you can see on the very bottom of the aquarium, it looks like grass growing. Well, that's algae. And because this is right by a window, that helps the fish eat the algae, and they love eating it. And the skimmer helps the water circulate. And if you want to find out more about the Eheim skimmer, I do have videos on it, how to modify it so it would work better, and also how to replace the suction cups that seem to not last very long on the skimmer. I replaced it with a magnet. It works great, holds great, no problems. But anyhow, I use the skimmer basically as a circulation pump along with the filter I have. But if you look at this aquarium, it's overstocked. I've had people tell me, like my goldfish aquarium out in the Lanai, it's overstocked. I got too many fish. You always got the aquarium police out there ready to tell you that you have too many fish. There's one of my viewers, I think his name is Guppy Stories. He's got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of guppies in one tank, and just literally overcrowded. I'm also going to show you pictures of another tank, 125-gallon Mabuna tank. It's overcrowded. Yes, people overcrowd their tanks. I think I've had a video on this. That's why I came up with the inoxic filter and everything, because people overcrowd their ponds. And there's no doubt, no question to that. With a pond, you should have 500 gallons per koi. So that means you'd have a 1,000-gallon pond, you should have 2 koi. 2,000 gallon, but nobody does that. 2,000-gallon pond, you would have 4 koi. That's it, according to the stocking rules of ponds. But nobody obeys those rules. Okay? Nobody really obeys them. They depend on their stocking. It depends on what kind of filtration system they're using as how they stock their ponds. And that's the same thing with aquariums. How is the aquarium filtered? Now, it could be overstocked maybe if I had a sponge filter, but I'm using an inoxic filter, and that's it. No sponge, no nothing. And as you can see, the goldfish love nibbling off the plants. To me, no, this is not overstocked. Could it even handle more goldfish? Yeah, it could. and it would not be overstocked, but I know if I put any more goldfish in it, it definitely people would be complaining. I just saw a YouTube video where someone had two smaller goldfish and they died on them and they passed away, the goldfish heaven, and my goldfish are doing just fine. The Lanai aquarium's over 10 months old, and I have 6 ranchus, and all 6 ranchus are doing fine. They're doing great colors, eyes are clear, fins are good, no problems. Yet I have people complain once again, oh, that tank is overcrowded. Yes, I know. But if you have a filtration system that can handle it, is it really overcrowded? It's a good question. Do you think it? Think it nice here in the comments. Do you think if you have a filtration system that's capable of handling, let's say like this 20 gallon or my Lanai or 90 gallon, that can handle a little more fish because your filtration system is able to do it, is it okay to do it? I mean, if we go by these rule of thumbs, then nobody in an aquarium shop who's selling fish should be selling fish because their tanks would be overcrowded. And then we give them excuse, well, they're only there through transit, until they can be sold to the hobbyists. So that's okay. So we give them a pass, a hall pass. But if you're a hobbyist, no, it's not okay because that's their permanent resident. Well, yes and no. It could be their permanent resident, and then on the other hand, it could be a temporary resident until they get a bigger aquarium in the future. So, it depends. The point I guess I'm trying to make is, I guess it's in the eyes of the beholder. Is your tank really overcrowded? Or do you think because of the filtration system you're using, it's really not overcrowded because you're having 0 problems with sicknesses, you're having 0 problems with feeding the fish, they're all healthy, they're growing. Therefore, I guess it's not overcrowded. It's one of those things that it'd be nice to see in the comments what people would tell me, that we should stick to the rule of thumb, or should we stick to what a lot of hobbyists use, the rule of thumb for them for like ponds is, how able is my filtration system? Anyhow, then I got the other hand, on the other hand, people just say, oh, I've seen people with the Noxie filter, they barely have any fish. Well, I personally don't see that. I always see the opposite. People who use the Noxie filters usually have more fish than people who don't because they're able to do it without any problems. Here's one. I'll show you some pictures of this particular Lito. He sent me this. He sent me some pictures before. It says, I started my BCB baskets on my he started his BCB baskets on February 27th. At least that's when I got a email from him. He said that he started his baskets today. I made an 8x8x12 using Safety Zorb and fluoride red. He used the fluoride red in place of the laterite to add iron. It is now in my sump. Okay. Now he just sent me an email on 4/16. He sent me this email. I started my BCB baskets on my 125-gallon tank, heavily stocked. Okay, he admits it's heavily stocked. Maui tank about a month ago. Well, let's see, February, March, April, a little over a month. It's been over a month. It's been closer to a month and a half. Okay, according to the email he had sent me. And he says about a month ago, let's say about a month and a half, because from what I have. I do water changes once a week, and I check my NO3 before water change and always compare it to my other tank, which is a 65-gallon tank. So he has a comparison of both these tanks with, I guess, Mabuna's in it, and he checks out his NO3 to a established aquarium without BCB baskets. Now remember, the 65 gallon has no BCB baskets. The 125 does. I'm getting disappointed, or I am disappointed, he should be saying, but he says, I'm getting disappointed. Or I was very disappointed, maybe he could have said that. Okay, until today, before my water changed, I did a test reading on my 125 gallon tank for NO3. The attached picture shows the water of my 125 gallon compared to the 65 without the BCB. What a surprise. I will not do a water change on my 125, but keep monitoring the NO3. Now what has happened is he had NO3, and I always tell people this, you have NO3 or phosphates, be patient. This is a hobby where patience will pay off. And like my goldfish aquarium out in the Lanai, for example, with those 6 big goldfish in it, my nitrates are less than 20 parts per million whenever I've checked it every month. And my phosphates are 0.29 the last time I checked it. Okay? So phosphates are very, very low. And I really don't have algae problems. But then we have to consider something with that particular aquarium. One is I bought at least 20 mystery snails and put it in that tank. And I also bought 10 trapdoor snails. In that amount of time that I bought the snails and the time that the tank has been put up, I've lost quite a few snails. And you know how snails are. They're doing great one day and they're walking around and doing their thing. And next day they're half hanging out of their shell and you're wondering, hey, what happened to my snails? And they're dead. So I did find that with that particular tank, if I don't catch it, I've had dead snails actually just die and stay in the tank. So now out of the 20 mystery snails, I probably have, I'm just saying maybe 6, 7, I'm guessing. The rest have probably died. How old were they? I don't know. Nobody knows when you buy these snails how old they are. But for some reason, this is one thing I've ran into with snails. So the tank has had to handle not only large amount of waste from the goldfish, but also large amount of dead waste from snails dying, hiding, and wind up dying in the tank and rotting in the tank. It's also had to deal with that. However, that could be a reason why the nitrates are up to almost 20 parts per million, even though I do a water change. Maybe because of the dying snails and everything else, and the heavy fish load, which is, for that 40-gallon breeder, it's maybe 300 times the load it should be having with aquarium fish in it. But everything seems to be well. Plants are growing. Even the bamboo I put in there, you can see new white roots, big fat white roots growing off the bamboo. So I'm not going to make a big deal out of anything. The fish are healthy. They are eating. Okay. So this is a case where he made 125 gallon. As I tell people, be very patient. It may take a while. It depends on each individual. I know today this is instantaneous of everything, but unfortunately, just be patient and you'll be rewarded in the end. So I have another letter here. It's by Chris. It says, I set up my plenum in my aquarium about 10 weeks ago. I recently added a piece of driftwood. After about 2 days, it was growing a white fungus or algae on it. Now, the driftwood he's using, I've had that driftwood too. You can buy it even at stores like Pier 1 as decorative driftwood. It's got a dark color to it and a white color to it that driftwood does. I put a piece of that in my aquarium several years ago, the 60-gallon, and guess what? It did the same thing. It got that white fungus on it. Now, it didn't seem to bother the fish, the white fungus, but the same thing happened to me, Chris. Exactly. But it didn't seem to harm anything. And then after a few weeks, it disappeared. From what I understand, the driftwood is leaching out uh, substances out of it that feed that white fungus, if you want to call it, or some people may call it an algae, but I don't think it's an algae. I think it's more of almost like a fungus or mold. And then eventually the wood stops or it gets exhausted and then it goes away, Chris. I've had it too. Some people feel they have to take the driftwood out, clean it off, put it back in. They may have to do that a couple times. I myself did the driftwood. I left it alone, or I just pulled it off with a sponge or something, and a little bit grew back or whatever. It didn't seem to bother any of the fish or inhabitants of the tank. That's what I'm saying. And with that piece of driftwood, as you see in the picture, basically it does that. Okay, I think that's just the nature of beast with that. I'm sure I'll have comments saying, "Oh, I've had that driftwood and I've had zero problems with it." Well, I have to admit the driftwood he's using, I've used a piece of that too, and it did the same thing. Then I have a couple of questions here. Let's see. It says here, and this one, Lambers, this is from Germany. These questions. You advocate the use of laterite, as for example, C-chem fluoride red, because that has a lot of iron in it, on top of a plenum, followed by a substrate provided choice. Is it possible to use nutrient-rich base layer fertilizing substrates, or do nutrients get rinsed into the tank too much due to water changes between plenum and the top of the water? It's a good question. My 90-gallon video I show exactly that. I did use a nutrient-rich substrate, which is the fluval in the lanai aquarium with the goldfish. I did use a nutrient-rich substrate made by Aqua or something like that. It was an off-brand. It was nutrient-rich for plants. So once they hit that substrate, they get the nutrients out of that. And no, I have not noticed a problem with those nutrients. The biggest problem I've noticed and that I get emails on is they use these substrates and their pH will either go down or their pH will go up. With the Fluvo, my pH went down. But as everybody says, give it time and the pH will stabilize, which it did. After a few months, the pH finally went to like 7.3, 7.4. But before, it was very, very low, even to like 6.8, 6.9, because the fluval substrate did drop the pH. And I tell people that, and I used to put baking soda in the aquarium to try to get the pH up. Some people I've had complaints that have said, like from India, said, oh, my pH is real high. Well, the only thing I can think of is take what you have, put it in a glass of water, keep it stirred up every so often, and find out what's causing the pH to rise. What substrate or what are you doing to make your pH go higher? And then either eliminate that substrate or wait until it finally leaches out. It's like building a new pond out of cement. You do that, you build a pond out of cement, and it's going to have a high pH for at least a year plus until it leaches out that line, and then the pH will go down. But this is a very common problem with ponds that are made from cement, and they haven't been sealed, and especially in the old days. Not too much today do people make ponds out of cement, but especially in the old days when they used to do that, the ponds were almost not fish worthy. They were great for water gardens, but fish had a hard time acclimating to them, except your very stronger fish like your comets or your shabunkins would do well in them, not your more delicate fish like you're looking here at these ryonkins. So that was one question he brought up. And he writes, when thinking about it, I think that it's probably not a big issue, which he's right, because ADA, for example, advocates a rough substrate as a base layer to have a good oxygenation. And if there is oxygenation, there is also an exchange of water. But maybe I'm wrong. No, he's not wrong. If there is good oxygenation in your substrate, there is an exchange of water through capillary action or whatever action, percolation, diffusion, and Amano's right. He's absolutely right. I bought ADA Power Sand Advance and JBL Volcano material that I wanted to use below the soil to get the height at the back of the aquarium. That's perfectly fine. He's on the right track. You know, any one of those are perfectly fine. A lot of people, I wanted to bring this up from Indonesia. I get a lot of, can I use Zeolite or something like that as an alternative to kitty litter? Now, I have known people in Indonesia that use it, but the smaller granules, not the big granules of Zeolite, but very small, because they use that because they didn't have the kitty litter. And they came up with very good results of it using it on their ponds, making BCB baskets out of it. I think I have that in my book even. What is the exact point of regarding a laterite? Well, the exact point, which is very good, all the iron basically is, people, is it aids plants and it aids the production of bacteria. Bacteria use a lot of iron in their first initial production of dividing and everything. Then they could even exhaust the iron, but that aids them in their production. Once everything becomes mature, like you're looking at this aquarium right here in front of you, the basket, oh gosh, the basket's over a year and a half, even older. Adding iron is not important anymore. The bacteria is already there. It doesn't need the iron. Now it's just like a perpetual kind of thing. It just will perpetually keep making bacteria, dying, making, and it's not as dependent on iron as it was in its first initial stages. So that's why we use an iron source. Whether it's laterite, I use that, or whether it's C-Chem, or whether it's even a liquid iron in your aquarium, make sure that iron's up to, if you're going to test it, to 0.5 parts per million, if you want to get it as high as that. But make sure there's an iron source in that aquarium, especially if you have a plenum, and it will aid in the bacteria production. Okay, the other trace elements are not as important as that iron in the initial development stages. Could I also use a nutrient and iron-rich substrate I already bought as a substrate, even though they are not as optimal as laterite? Absolutely. That's why I tell people, hey, if you have some C-Chem, you don't have to make it thick. 1/4 inch thick to add some of that C-Chem, or your fluorite red that has a lot of iron in it. A small layer of that so you don't have to go buy a whole bunch of it, and then put the substrate of your choice, and that will add that iron in there. So you don't really need the laterite. A lot of things have changed in 30 plus years since I did all this research. We didn't 30 years ago have these substrates that had all iron in it like we do today. We have the luxury of using different sources for iron than we did 35 years ago, 40 years ago, when I started the research on this. Okay, so it's changed. Yes, you can use different iron sources today. So I hope that's a relief to everybody to know that no, you're not stuck with just laterite. And I've had people say, oh, I've found laterite, but it's real powdery. People have tried to solve that problem by putting like nylon stockings, and they'll put little balls. They'll make some nylon stockings of little balls of laterite, and they used to use it that way. Okay, but you can substitute the laterite for other high iron source materials that are out there. And then his third question is, do you have a video where you talk about separate substrates on the market? maybe I overlooked it. Well, that's why I try to show my videos that I did where I did use separate substrates on my aquarium. The 40-gallon breeder, I showed exactly how I set it up using different substrates. That one has a sand gravel mix. Then it has that aqua substrate on it. Plus it has a bag of kitty litter I put on it, only about 1/4 of an inch. I didn't even rinse it. Just put a little bit of the kitty litter on the bottom, and then I added some laterite on top of that, and then I finished it off with the sand and gravel mix on the goldfish aquarium. My 90-gallon, I show how I did it step by step. Put the gravel down, then I put the, I used the ADA, and then I put that down. Then I sprinkled the laterite, 2 boxes of that, down on top of that. Then I added the ADA on top of that. Okay, and then on top of that, I just put a little light layer of what I had. I didn't have much of a little light layer of gravel, so it looks like it has a gravel top to it. And so, yeah, I layered it differently, and you can do it of your choice. It's your aquarium. If you like pink gravel, put that pink gravel down. Don't let anyone tell you don't use it. Put it on top and make your aquarium look good the way you like it. Okay, Dr. Novak, my name is Sheen. I was wondering if it'd be okay to write a book about the NOx filtration. Sheen, you can write a book. You don't have to ask my permission. There's other authors out there who have written, like Mackie Saki. I think if you Google Mackie Saki from the UK, he's written a book. I've written a book. Go ahead. You can write a book. You really don't have to ask. In fact, people have, like Mackie, he's contacted me, and he's used pictures, even out of my book, to make demonstrations. He's done all kinds of demonstrations. If you haven't seen his articles, he's written several articles on the anoxic filtration system for the United Kingdom. I think I've had him on my videos where I've shown pictures of him. So, because people have asked me, are there any books? Are there any articles? Yes. There's things written up in Italian, if you can read Italian, from Dr. Franco, all written up on it in Italian. So for those of you who speak Italian, you can go on Dr. Franco. I think he's still up, his site, even though he passed away. And with all his research, what he did, how he did it on the anoxic filtration system. Some people say there's no research on it. Yes, there's plenty of research. And I did a lot of research, and I've often told people, if you would like to buy my research papers, because I don't know who you are. You could be working for a company. If you would like to buy my research paper, I'd be more than happy to sell it to you. Because, to be honest with you, a lot of people help me with that research. A lot of beta testing sites, a lot of people with aquariums, a lot of people volunteered their time, their trouble. If I could sell my research papers to somebody, great. Then, hey, if you want to badmouth it, I don't care. I've made my money. I can pay them a little bit of money for what they've done for me, the help they've given me, the free help they've given me. It would be nice if everybody all around got some money. No, the research papers would not be cheap. Okay, I wasn't getting paid by a university to do the research, so it's not like when I was an engineer and I would develop stuff for companies, Tesla, Harley Davidson, Ford, Generac. Anything that was developed was all proprietary to the company I worked for. They owned everything. Unlike Gates, who, when he worked for IBM and came up with, for his Microsoft, he kept those patents and everything for himself. How did he do it? I don't know. But that's why he became so rich, and IBM didn't. In my case, anything that I came up with, the company had proprietary rights to everything, and I did not. That's the way it works. The company's the one who pays for the patents, so they're the ones who get the rights to anything that you have done while you are working for them. Well, when it comes to research like this, it wasn't a university that paid me to do it or anything. Otherwise, they would have the proprietary rights to it. I did it. And therefore, it's very expensive if you wish to buy my research paper. Maybe when I'm dead and gone, my widow will sell the papers or donate them to somebody or whatever. I don't know. Okay, that's not up to me. But it would be nice that if I sold the papers, because a lot of people say, well, why aren't those public? Well, because I did the research. And like anybody else out there, you're going to put your time and trouble and 10 years of your life into something. You want to be paid for it. Okay. I don't have any big sign on me that says I'll work for free. I'm sorry. I work if you pay me. You don't pay me, I don't work. So all that research I did, if you wish to read all of it, and it gets real complicated and stuff, all the research I did, if you wish to pay me for it, that's one thing. Because it's something that I did. And I just want to make that clear to people that, no, I don't work for free. When a university does it and you're a professor at a university, it's different. The university is paying you, you're getting grants, that goes out proprietary to the university, and what your research is then goes out for anything else. My research did go out for scrutiny. It went out to different people so they can look at it and scrutinize it. A lot of chemists looked at it, Harvard chemists, a lot of chemists have looked at it to scrutinize it. They have come back with their feedbacks on it and everything else. A lot of people have double tested it, double blind tested it. Okay, as I explained, Dr. Pasfoy, Dr. Frankel, they give their results of what they got. Okay, the only thing I got to really ask then, the systems we use now, where's all the research paper on that? Where's all the research papers on deep sand beds? Where's it at? Where's all the patents and all the research papers? I've never seen any. Okay, where's all the research? And as you notice, if there is research, it's going to be done by somebody at a university. They're getting paid. So they don't care if it takes them a year, 2 years, 3 years. Don't forget, they still made their paycheck. So then it becomes proprietary to the university that tells them, when you're going to be a professor at a university, you have to do research or you have to write papers if you wish to stay employed at that university. That's part of being a professor. So they have to do it, and then it goes out for publications. If you do it privately, then no, it does not. Then you can charge whatever you want. That's how commerce works. Okay, that's what Tesla or IBM or Gates or Apple, they did it. They invented it. They don't need to give it out. This is commerce. This is how it works. They're the ones who make the money. Same way with me. I'm no different. I like to make the money. Anyhow, yeah, if you wish to write a book on it or anything, you can write a book on it. If you need some pictures for your book, contact me. I have old pictures. You can take nude pictures, whatever you want. Do your own graphs and stuff. That's what Sid did. He did all his own graphs and everything. And yeah, you can write a book. Whatever you want to do. You really don't have to ask me on it unless you wanted to have a phone conversation, you know, of talking to me on something like that. Let's see. Thank you for our helpful video. I'm planning to create a BCB basket. This is by someone else, Ricardo. And just wanted to check with you because I can't find the exact cat litter and oil dry in my country. This is once again Indonesia. And would it be able to advise whether I could use 100% zeolite stone in the basket? Ricardo, you can if it's small. Make sure it's between 2 to 3 millimeters only. Don't use that big zeolite stone. From my understanding, people in Indonesia haven't used it, but I don't know if they crush it or if there's a way of getting it smaller. Okay, so anyhow, that's it for this video. Sorry to have taken up a little more of your time than I wanted to on this video. It's went a little longer than I wanted. But anyhow, thank you for watching. Let me know below, really, in your comments. I want to hear, is your tank overcrowded? Do you think a tank is considered overcrowded, like my goldfish tank you're looking at? If we go by the rule of thumb or by gallons, 1 goldfish per 25 gallon? Or do you think a tank is overcrowded according to the filtration system that is being used? Let me know in the comments below, because then I could do a video and say, well, here's what people think. Okay, so thank you for watching. This is Dr. Novak, and I want to wish all you watching my video happy Easter, and I really mean that, and happy Hanukkah to all my Jewish friends that are out there. Happy Hanukkah to you. Passover is already Friday. I hope you enjoyed your brisket. I enjoyed my brisket, but that Friday night. But I hope you enjoyed your brisket. I want to let everybody know happy Easter, and let's all remember what Easter really is about. Okay. Anyhow, until next time, this is Dr. Novak. Thank you very much for watching.